UFC 314 full card predictions coming at you. Alexander Volkanovski taking on Diego Lopez. I'm going to get right into these predictions, man. I think this is a really hard card to predict. I'll say that off the bat because there's a lot of close fights here. But I'm going to do my very best, and I know I'm going to do good here, so I'm excited. Sorry I have to pull this up. I don't know why I forget every time. But anyways, the first fight up is going to be Nora Carnolle versus Hailey Cowan. I did film for the other WMMA fight, that like the one where it's actually good, Virna and Xiaonan. But for this one, you know the drill, man. I'm going to go with Nora. I don't really know too much. I'm going to go Nora split decision. Women's bantamweight is not my cup of tea. I know that Nora's got like some kickboxing background. I know Hailey Cowan's probably going to try to get the takedowns going. I just think Nora outpoints her. So that's going to be my pick. Nora Carnolle, don't know much about it. Can't give you a full detailed explanation, but let's move on to the next one. And the next one's going to be Tresean Gore, Marco Tulio. Man, Marco Tulio, or Tresean Gore's plus 300. Guys, I'm here to tell you right now that I'm picking Tresean Gore. Marco Tulio is a good fighter. There's no doubt about it. 13-1. He trains out of shoot box. He's big. He's physical. He hits hard. He's got a grappling game as well. But I don't know if he's this level of minus 365. I mean, that's ridiculous to me. When I look at Marco Tulio, he explodes into his shots. He gets a little bit wild at times. He's got some good kicking. But I don't know if he's the better athlete here, honestly, because I think that Tresean Gore is an extremely good athlete. I've been really impressed with what I've seen out of Tresean Gore. He's a guy who started his career a little bit later. He's 6-2, but he's very much improving, and he's showed these improvements. Obviously, he's got 2 wins back-to-back in the first round. Standing guillotine chokes, that must be his go-to. And he's a good, his wrestling looks solid, right? I think that his takedown entries are quick. He's athletic. He's a very solid athlete, and he's, like I said, he's constantly improving, which is important to me. And I think that he does well here. He's a little bit low volume, and the cardio is a bit of a concern, but I don't think Marco Tulio's cardio is good as well, right? There are moments where I've seen Marco Tulio kind of sit there, not do that much, and then explode into shots, and he can't find someone, and then he kind of sits there. Like I said before, Tresean Gore, he's a little bit low volume, but he's not a bad striker. He's a pretty solid wrestler. His defensive wrestling is good, and I think that he makes this fight competitive, and he's also pretty damn powerful. He fought Brian Battle and, had him hurt a couple times. Didn't do enough to win that fight, but, he could have won that fight, right? I think that if he pushed the action a little bit more, he could have actually won that fight. And we know what Brian Battle's turned into, right? He's turned into a fantastic fighter, a welterweight contender. And Tresean Gore did well in that fight. Obviously the win over, who is the guy? Fucking Antonio Trocoli, not crazy good. But he's got that one under his belt. He's got the Josh Frem win under his belt. Not some crazy wins, but Marco Tulio just beat Ihor Potieria. It's not those. Tresean Gore would beat Ihor. You know what I mean? I don't think that Marco Tulio is warranted this kind of price tag, and I think that he is going to be in a competitive fight here. And I like Tresean Gore's power. He's got a nasty left hook. He's constantly improving. He's moved to the MMA lab, and I'm excited to see what he can do. And I definitely don't think that Marco Tulio is going to, look like a minus 365 favorite in here. So I am going to bet on Tresean Gore, and I already did bet on him. But now that he's plus 300, I'm definitely probably going to double up on him, not go crazy, but I don't think that he should be plus 300. I really like the guy's skill set, constantly improving. He's strong. He's athletic. He might not be physically as big as Marco Tulio, but he's explosive, dynamic. I think that Tresean Gore is actually good, man. His jab is slick, man. You know what I mean? And if he can fight this fight at his tempo and avoid the big shots from Tulio, I can kind of see him having a good amount of success here. I don't necessarily know if I understand this number. And I think people are going to be surprised on how good Tresean Gore is able to do in this one. I originally, in my early predictions, picked Marco Tulio, but I'm going to go with Tresean Gore. I think that he's got a lot of value here. And I like him to win, man. Let's go with Tresean Gore plus 300 underdog. Love it, man. I think he makes this fight a lot more competitive. And, he got knocked out by Brundage, but there was a lot of things going on in that camp. I think he had a bad weight cut. I don't remember what it was, but I like Tresean Gore. We'll move on to the next one, which is going to be Sumudaerji versus Mitch Raposo. Now, Sumudaerji is a minus 164 favorite, and I think there's value here on Sumudaerji. I think he's a very good fighter. And when I watch Mitch Raposo, I understand why people kind of think that he has a shot here or a good chance and he's a good underdog here, but I noticed something. Oh, I'm sorry, my camera's blurring out here. I apologize. Mitch Raposo, like, he fights everybody at range, right? He's never on the gas, pressuring forward, you know, like trying to be in your face. And I think that he's not going to be able to, if he doesn't pressure Sumudaerji, he's not going to win. It's simple as that, right? Mitch Raposo, he's got slick boxing, he's got good hands. But as you can tell, man, he's at a significant reach disadvantage, you know, significant height disadvantage. Sumudaerji is slick, man. He's very slick. You could see Charles Johnson, who's probably a pretty good striker, and not only is he a pretty good striker, he's much bigger and much longer than Mitch Raposo. I mean, Charles Johnson had such a hard time finding the mark on Sumudaerji. I know he ended up winning that fight, but it was hard for Charles Johnson to find Sumudaerji because his footwork is so good. And that's what I think Mitch Raposo is going to have a hard time with if he's not right in his face the whole time, you know, spamming takedowns, which I think Sumudaerji, that's another thing in this fight. I think Sumudaerji's improved his takedown defense, you know, astronomically, as well as I think he has opportunities to get a submission here. I'll be looking at that. Stay tuned because that's going to be a long shot, but his takedown defense has looked solid, you know, especially in his last one versus Johnson. I don't think that Mitch Raposo is an outstanding wrestler. His entries are quick. He's a solid athlete, and he can get you to the ground, but I don't know if he's going to be able to control Sumudaerji for long periods of time. I think Sumudaerji, back against the wall here, he's got to get a win. I think he comes out and gets a win here. I don't like Raposo sitting at range with these guys. You know, didn't push the action against Andre Lima. He's in front of a guy with better footwork than Andre Lima. He's in front of a guy who's much taller, much longer than Andre Lima. I think that Sumudaerji is going to have a field day on Mitch Raposo. I really do. And definitely you're going to find Sumudaerji in some of my bets. I'll tell you that. But yeah, man, I'm going Sumudaerji. Pretty confident he'll get it done here. Raposo's not a bad fighter, you know, but I don't like the matchup for him. I think he needs to be in front of a guy who is similar to his size to actually, you know, I don't want to say have a chance, but compete or win, basically, I guess. I'm sorry. Sumudaerji and me going to be my pick here. Let's move on to the next one. Sedriques Dumas taking on Michal Oleksiejczuk. I was looking at Sedriques Dumas possibly taking a bet on him. He's plus 157. I know he's been a pretty likable underdog here. And Michal Oleksiejczuk, man, I think he's been submitted like 5 times in the UFC, which is insanity. 5 times. I know he's fought a ton of good competition, but 5 times is a lot. He did his camp at the Fighting Nerds. You know, I'm not going to like make a huge deal out of that. I think that Michal Oleksiejczuk wins this matchup anyway. Like, even if he was at his old camp, I don't want to talk about Fighting Nerds and how that affects fighters. I don't care about that. But Michal Oleksiejczuk, I'll tell you this, his forward pressure is going to give Sedriques Dumas a lot of problems. Shooting takedowns off the back foot's not easy. And it's very, you know, very cardio. How do I say this? It's going to kill Sedriques Dumas' cardio. And Michal Oleksiejczuk's going to be able to do this. He's for a guy that is constantly moving forward. He's actually got pretty solid cardio. I think he defends takedowns here. I hope this number keeps going down because I do think that Michal Oleksiejczuk will win this fight. I don't know if he does it inside the distance, but Dumas, man, I definitely don't think he'll want to be on the back foot. I think he'll be super uncomfortable. He doesn't have any countering ability. He's got a good jab. He's got some decent kicks. But I think Michal Oleksiejczuk's going to be way too much for him. I think the forward pressure is just going to be detrimental to whatever Sedriques Dumas wants to do. You know, Sedriques Dumas, I've seen him on his Instagram practicing flying knees and stuff like that, which could help. But I just think Michal Oleksiejczuk is accurate. You know, when I look at Michal Oleksiejczuk, he's weirdly precise with his boxing. He loops his shots sometimes. He's powerful, but he's precise. You know, he hits you like right on the chin. Even if you're moving your head well, he can find you. It's pretty crazy. But Michal Oleksiejczuk is going to be my pick here. I think he defends the takedowns from Dumas, and even if Dumas is able to get him down, Dumas doesn't have much submission ability, right? His grappling is pretty good, but he's got to get him down and control him there and get a submission. I don't see it happening. I don't think he wins this fight with control time, and I think that the forward pressure is going to be a lot for him. I mean, Abua Zaitar, is that his name, was catching Sedriques Dumas a lot. He doesn't fight well moving back, and Michal Oleksiejczuk will do that. So I think Michal Oleksiejczuk's pretty good pick here. I think he'll beat Sedriques Dumas pretty easily, and we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be Darren Elkins versus Julian Erosa. Julian Erosa's minus 310. He should win this fight. I don't know what Darren Elkins. He's 29-11. I think he's on a 2-fight win streak, which is absolutely abysmal to me. But they're not against anywhere near Julian Erosa. Daniel Pineda's an okay fighter, but if Daniel Pineda wanted to win that fight, he could have, right? He could have defended the takedowns from Elkins and not pulled guillotine every time, and won the fight on the feet. Elkins is atrocious on the feet. He's going to be at a huge, reach disadvantage. Erosa's not amazing on the feet, but he's got nasty submissions, and I do think he's one of those guys with those front chokes that has better kind of front chokes than a Daniel Pineda. Erosa has nasty torque on his chokes because he's so long. I want to say Julian Erosa gets this one done easily, but it's Julian Erosa, so I don't exactly know if he's gonna get it done easily. But it's he should win this fight pretty easily. I don't want to even mention too much about it. It should be Julian Erosa all day. But Julian Erosa is a hairy fighter to pick. We'll say that just to say the least. But we'll move on to the next one. Jim Miller versus Chase Hooper. I'm not a big believer in Chase Hooper, and I don't think that he's a warranted minus 900 favorite, but he should win the fight. Chase Hooper's made some adjustments, made some improvements, and Jim Miller, he's not bad, but he's slow. He's slow, and he's old. He's going to probably gas out. I think he's better than Guida for sure, and I'll say that pretty confidently. But I do think that ultimately, man, Hooper should win this fight. I don't think highly of Hooper. He's got good grappling, of course, good BJJ. Striking is still developing, and it's not great, but he does have good cardio. He does have good gas tank, and he's going to be able to push Jim Miller hard. And I don't think that Miller's going to be able to keep up with him. Miller could have some success early on. He's got a big right hand. He's still pretty powerful. He's got a good guillotine. He's a great grappler. He's not as good of a grappler as Chase Hooper is, though. This is a fight I'm just going to stay away from, but I'll pick Chase Hooper for my pick. And we'll move on to this fight, Xiaonan versus Virna Jandiroba. Man, I'm not a huge Virna fan, and I'll say that here, and I'm going to pick Xiaonan. I think that she looked extremely good in her last fight versus Tabitha Ricci. Granted, Tabitha Ricci is nowhere near Virna Jandiroba, and I'll say that pretty confidently. But I don't think Virna's wrestling is that good. Now, if she's able to get it to the mat and she does unorthodox things to get you there, she'll roll for things and, pull guard and stuff like that. She'll pull guard just to sweep you from the bottom, and she does a really good job at that. But I don't think she's faced someone like Xiaonan who has that footwork. When she's fighting Lupi Godinez, or who else has she fought? I don't know, but whatever. Fighters that are kind of stationary like that. She hasn't fought a lot of fighters that have, good footwork and are able to move around with power like Xiaonan. I know Xiaonan, she's been finished a couple times, or once by, Cookie Monster, Carla Esparza. And that was a bad performance for sure. But she's vastly improved her takedown defense. Zhang Wei Li, to me, is someone who mixes up the martial arts much, much better than Virna, right? Virna doesn't have much on the feet. Xiaonan, to me, man, I think she'll do well here. I think it'll be a close fight just because I think Virna's going to get her down at some point, or, pull guard, reverse her, whatever it is. I don't see her finishing the fight because Xiaonan, man, she's tough as it gets. I mean, she'll fight through these submissions like you saw in the Zhang Wei Li fight. She fought through these submissions, has a ton of heart. She's a good fighter, and I like her striking, and I do think that she wins this fight. I'm not huge on Virna because I think she's going to be much slower, much, much slower here. And I think that's going to be the biggest tell here is how much faster Xiaoanan's feet are. Her footwork, her angles. I think that if she pressures Virna, especially if Virna gets a takedown or attempts a takedown and Xiaonan gets out of it, I think if she pressures Virna, she's going to be able to do well. Xiaonan, beat Mackenzie Dern, and she kind of gassed out in that fight, but that was a 5-round fight. This is 3 rounds. I expect Xiaonan to step on the gas here and throw a lot of volume. She's a much, much better striker. It's not even actually close. I don't think that Virna has much finishing upside. You know, she can get you to the mat. She's obviously coming off a finish versus Lemos, but Lemos, to be real with you, was pulling guillotine, which is exactly what Virna wants to do, right? I don't think that Xiaonan is going to do that. She might find herself on the mat in this fight, and I can definitely see a case of picking Virna. But I'm going to go with the, younger fighter here, the faster fighter. And I think that's Xiaonan, much better athlete as well. And she's improved her takedown defense tremendously. So I'll go with Xiaonan here. And we'll move on to the next one. Dan Ige, Sean Woodson. I've had the hardest time with this fight. And I'll be this has been number one the hardest fight for me to pick. Because there's a world where I can easily see Sean Woodson. Not easily, though. This is why I'm ultimately picking Dan Ige. Is because from Sean Woodson's resume, or I want to say his past fights, he tends to be in closer fights, right? Dan Ige, he doesn't have much finishing upside, does Sean Woodson. He's got nasty knees up the middle. He's hard to hit. Obviously, he's long. He's got good boxing. But I don't know if this is a great matchup for him, because I think that Dan Ige, he's so damn durable. He's so damn tough, and he'll fight hard. He's going to fight for your money. He's not going to back up. And I think if he can try to mix in his wrestling, I think he can do a good job. And there's finishing upside for Dan Ige. I think that he has the bigger moments here. Sure, Sean Woodson can out-volume him. But this seems like a Dan Ige matchup. A guy coming up, like the Andre Fili fight, like the, Damon Jackson fight. A guy coming up on a pretty good win streak, and then Dan Ige stops him. Nate Landwehr as well. You run into Dan Ige, he's an ultimate gatekeeper. If you can't, there's a good chance, the best of the best are getting by him, right? Mavzar Evloyev, right? Lerone Murphy. I don't want to say best of the best, but these guys are winning right after fighting Dan Ige. I can see Sean Woodson winning a decision here, but I just don't know if I want to pick him. I don't want to, so I'm going to go Dan Ige. Sorry about that. I'm back. Nikita Krylov, Dominick Reyes. Nikita Krylov is sitting at a minus 176 favorite here. I think that Nikita Krylov is going to smoke Dominick Reyes. I think that Nikita Krylov is on a 3-fight win streak. I know he hasn't fought in forever, but man, Nikita Krylov is good. He's very good. This guy, losing to Magomed Ankalaev, getting choked by Paul Craig, he's still a great fighter. I don't want to say he's great, but he's good, man. He's big, he's durable, he's physical, and he's got a good cardio, and he hits hard too, man. He's unpredictable. Sure, I can see Reyes trying to counter him, but Nikita Krylov is still powerful. He'll work you in the clinch, and he'll just drag you into deep water, so he'll grind you out. I think he's going to destroy Dominick Reyes, man, and I'm pretty confident saying this. I don't think that Reyes looks the same as he's always looked, right? Reyes, to me, his past couple of fights, like Anthony Smith, man, that doesn't even count, really. Like Anthony Smith, he wasn't there in that octagon. Anthony Smith right now is not great anyways, but he was literally his coach had just died, and he was not all there in that octagon that night. Nothing. So finishing him doesn't mean anything to me, to be honest with you. And then Dustin Jacoby fight, it was a nice shot, and I like Dominick Reyes, and I'm not shitting on him, but I just don't think he's the same fighter. He doesn't look as good. He's not as physical. He doesn't look as big as he used to. He doesn't look as strong as he used to. He's got good technique. He's still a good athlete. But I think that Krylov, man, he's huge. He's massive, dude. I fear for Dominick Reyes in this fight, man. I just think the pace is going to be too much, and Krylov's unorthodox, like a Prohaska. I'm not going to say he's exactly like Yair, but he's unorthodox. He throws weird shit in the octagon, and I can see him hitting Reyes and hitting him hard. I think that Krylov's going to kill him. And he's sitting at a decent favorite. I know a lot of people are on Reyes. I can't do it, man. I think that there's a world where he could do okay here, but he's going to have to, reverse Krylov on the mat, control him on the mat, submit him, or so. I don't think he wins this fight on the feet. You know what I mean? Sure, he can have some decent counters. I just think it'll be hard for him to keep up in this fight. Krylov, to me, is one of my most confident picks on the card. And I like him a lot. I know he's coming off a big layoff. He looks ripped. He looks strong. He's been talking about how this is his best camp, and he's prepared. I'm very, confident Krylov's going to win this fight. So we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be Gene Silva, Bryce Mitchell. Tons of people are hyped for this fight. Man. I don't like Gene Silva, especially as of recent, because he was at the press conference interrupting every second, and there's nothing more. I cannot stand when people do that. When people interrupt people constantly, like Ian Gary did it to Neil Magny. I can't stand Ian Gary. I cannot stand Gene Silva. I don't like him. But he's a very good fighter. And I like Bryce Mitchell. I think that he says some interesting things, but overall, man, I really don't like Gene Silva as a person, but he's very good. He's very, very good. I think that Gene Silva, he's very powerful on the feet. He's really, really good striker. And I want to say that because you can just see him, like even in the Jourdain fight. I know people talk about him getting taken down. I don't care about that. I think in front of a one-dimensional guy like Mitchell, he's going to do well. Maybe find himself on the mat maybe once. But I think that Gene Silva is so athletic. He's so strong. I think that just Bryce Mitchell's going to have issues with him, man, and especially on the feet. Gene Silva's going to pressure him. He's going to be in his face, and he's going to pick his shots. He's patient. He'll, drop back. If you overextend, man, Jourdain overextended, one time in that fight, and he got dropped with a counter. One time, man. The dude has dirty countering ability. I can see, obviously, if Mitchell's able to get it down here, but I don't think so, man. I think Silva's going to stop him or win a dominant decision here. I just don't see Mitchell, he's a great, fantastic grappler, but I think he'll struggle with the physicality of Gene Silva. I think that Silva's very athletic. He's very strong, and this guy gives nobody respect on the feet. Nobody, right? Kevin Vallejos, who we've seen come up, he hits hard. He's a great boxer. Didn't give him any respect. Jourdain didn't give him any respect. Drew Dober didn't give him any respect. He's not going to, give any respect to Bryce Mitchell, anything that he throws on the feet. So, to me, man, it's going to be Gene Silva here. I'm not going to bet on this fight. But I do like Silva here, and I do like him possibly by a decision. Mitchell's still a tough dude, but I think that Gene Silva is going to work him. I want to say a 29-28 decision. I think Mitchell can steal around, but to me, Silva's the right pick here. I'm rooting for Bryce because I really hate when fighters do that. My camera is tweaking right now. I apologize. Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. We got where's the year? Oh, it's right here. Minus 194 on Yair. I don't like that number, but I am picking Yair Rodriguez to beat Patricio Pitbull. Yair, he looks like he's in great shape, man. I'll say that because this guy's always had some issues, being in shape, taking the sport serious. He looks in fantastic shape for this camp. I mean, he trains at Valley Flow. He trained hard. I mean, I've been hearing some talks, from my boy Bilal that Yair has been training hard. And he looks good. He really does physically look good. And Patricio Pitbull, to me, stylistically, I don't like the fight for him unless he's able to consistently grapple and consistently hold Yair down. But if he's not able to do that, I think he'll struggle on the feet just because Yair is so dynamic. He's so, Patricio Pitbull, he's got so much experience, and he's a guy who's going to look to counter you. That's what he does. He got finished by AJ McKee, who is a guy who is a southpaw. Yair, he's as big, around the size of Yair. Not as good as Yair on the feet, of course, but Patricio got knocked. I mean, he didn't get knocked out. I think he got choked out by AJ McKee. It was like a head kick, and it wobbled him bad. And he's been finished, in Risen I don't know how long ago. But Patricio Pitbull, I think he's got some durability issues. He's a very good defensive fighter, no doubt about it. But I don't like his durability. I think when he gets hit clean by a good shot, he doesn't react well and he drops. I think that he's got some durability problems. But he's a great counter striker. He hits damn hard. But I think it's really hard to counter Yair Rodriguez. You know what I mean? His footwork, his dynamic ability. It's a 3-round fight, and we've had issues about Yair gassing out. I think Pitbull starts off a little slow, which I like as well for Yair. I got Yair by a decision here. But I could see one of those front kicks from Yair, just those nasty front kicks that he has, like knocking Patricio Pitbull out. One right up the middle. I could see that happening. But Patricio's going to have to get the grappling going if he wants to win this fight. I just don't see it from him consistently because he doesn't really wrestle all that often. He's a very smart fighter. He's got great IQ. I imagine he'll try to take this fight to the mat. But I think Yair is going to come in here and do his work, man. I think he wins this fight 30-27. And I'll go with Yair to win. Possibly a finish. We'll see, but I'm going with Yair. I'm sorry. Golly. The next fight up, the co-main event, Paddy Pimblett versus Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler is going to be a plus 130 underdog. I'm taking Michael Chandler, man. I'm taking Michael Chandler, and this is the best explanation that I have here. Michael Chandler, man, he's always dangerous. I know he's 38 years old. He's not been doing well in the UFC, but you got to look at the competition he's faced. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira twice, right? Knocked out Dan Hooker, knocked out Tony Ferguson, whatever. But Michael Chandler, man, I talked about this in the Oliveira fight. There's always moments for him. You know what I mean? Like, he's always in the fight no matter what. And you saw it in his last fight, right? I thought he was done. You know, Charles had taken him down. He'd beaten him up. He'd controlled him there. And I thought Chandler was done. I thought he was done. And he came back and still had a moment in that fight. I know this is a 5-round fight, and Chandler's always dangerous. And I think Paddy, if he's not able to get it down to the ground, which I don't see happening, I think he'll struggle, especially later on. I think that Chandler, you know, the leg kicks of Paddy Pimblett, I will say, are going to be effective for him. He has solid leg kicks, and he's improved a lot. But he's not ready for this, man. I don't think he's ready for this. I think Chandler's way too explosive. He's way too dynamic, you know, and he hits like a damn truck, man. And he's so tough. He's so, you know, I don't want to say durable, but he's got so much heart, right? The guy's always training hard. He'll never give up. And I like that in this matchup for him. I think that Pimblett doesn't have the best defense. I think that Pimblett is not a great striker. His hands are pretty good. I mean, he hits hard, I'll say that. And maybe he can flash and knock down Chandler. I don't see him knocking him out, but he could possibly get a knockdown, a club and sub, possibly. But Chandler's a hard dude to submit. I even can see Chandler going out here and like wrestling Paddy Pimblett a good amount. I think that he can do that. Stay on top, land ground and pound. I think he can do that. I know Pimblett, you know, is this BJJ whatever, man. This is recency bias. I know he's improved a little bit, but guys, you got to go back to the Gordon fight. I mean, I can't get it out of my head. He lost that fight. I think that Chandler pushes the pace here, finds himself in this fight, maybe drops the first round, and I could see that happening. But if you're not able to neutralize Michael Chandler on the mat, he's always going to have moments. He's always going to be dangerous. You know, even Justin Gaethje, even Charles Oliveira. Charles in the second fight was able to get him down, and that's how he neutralized the fight with the constant pressure. I don't think that Pimblett's able to do that. I think that just too much, too many factors here are in Michael Chandler's favor. We haven't seen Pimblett go 5 rounds. He's had some gas tank issues. And I think that Michael Chandler's a tough dude to be in front of. I like Michael Chandler here. I'm going to say by a knockout. I want to say 3rd round knockout. I'm going to go Michael Chandler by a 3rd round knockout. Official pick, and we'll move on to the next one. The main event, Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopez. Alexander Volkanovski is at a minus 122 favorite. He was actually at one point, I want to say he was a pick'em. I don't remember when, but it was a pick'em between Lopez and Alexander Volkanovski. I think that Lopez is not going to win, man. I talked about it in my full fight breakdown. And by the way, guys, I've seen people saying I'm biased towards Volk. I picked Ilia Topuria to beat him. Not only did I pick Ilia Topuria to beat him, but my main event predictions on pay-per-views since the start of 2024, I've gotten one fight wrong. I have evidence of this. I will put it in. I don't know if I can put it in the video. Maybe I'll put it in the end of the video, but I will put this evidence in because I think that's important. One fight I've missed: Jamal Hill versus Alex Pereira. That's it. Every other main event I've gotten right. So good succession rate for me on main events. I'm expecting Alexander Volkanovski to come in here and dominate Diego Lopez. Lopez is dangerous, sure, but he's not to the level of a guy like Ilia Topuria. He does not have the footwork that Ilia Topuria has. He does not have the technique that Ilia Topuria has. He might have some of that power, but he doesn't have the speed of Ilia Topuria has. I just don't think he's anywhere near a guy that's knocked out Volkanovski. He's gotten knocked out by the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter, and in my eyes, the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter. If you have Diego Lopez on that level, then sure, man. I don't think anybody does. I don't think that Lopez is an incredible fighter. He's got a big height advantage here, not a reach advantage. I expect Volk to do what he did to Ilia Topuria, right? Do the same thing, except not get knocked out, of course. But pop in and out with that jab. Make him miss. And I think that he's going to be able to do that. I don't see Lopez as some threat, really. I mean, other than his power, if he's able to connect. If he's not able to connect, which I don't see happening, man, I think Volk's going to kill him. I think that this is, people are caught up in all this bullshit about, 36-year-old trying to become a champion. Bro, you can look at this kind of stuff, but it means nothing. It means nothing to me. You can look at statistics like that. It's just like the undefeated fighters thing, right? I watch film on undefeated fighters. It's not going to make me think, this is the year of undefeated fighters. I'm not going to pick any of those. No, it doesn't mean anything to me, right? I think that that's pure speculation, pure, whatever you want to call it. But Volkanovski should win this fight. I don't care that he's been knocked out 2 times. If Diego Lopez knocks him out, great. He'll lose the belt next time because he's not that good of a fighter. And I hate, to say it, but it's true. I think the stylistic matchup for Volk is pretty good. I think that he can wrestle Lopez. I think that he's the better striker. I think he's better everywhere, maybe besides jiu-jitsu, and that's it. He's not as physical. He's not as big as Lopez, but he's faster than him. He's got better footwork. He's got better technique. He should win this fight, man, and I'm excited to see him win. I'm a little bit nervous because obviously, I like Volk, but I don't think that Lopez is that good, to be honest with you, man. We've seen guys be able to control him from top position. Evloev, Joe Anderson, Brito, right? I think Volk is on the similar level to Movsar Evloev when it comes to the wrestling. So I think that Volkanovski wins this fight. I think he wins inside the distance. I'm going with Alexander Volkanovski. I hope I'm gonna get those pictures of all my. It might take me a little while, so I apologize if this video is coming up late. Pictures of all of my main event predictions up until that point. Obviously, I didn't have my channel, so I'll just be going off Tapology, which I use for years now. So that's gonna wrap it up for me. Hope y'all enjoyed. Catch you in the next one.